Welcome everyone to the West Milton Council Workshop for May 27th, 2025. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please.
Mr. Dorman?
Here.
Mr. Horn? Ms. Metz?
Here.
Ms. Gregory?
Here.
Mr. Fogel?
Here.
Mr. Saunders?
Here.
Mayor Hurst?
Here. First on the agenda is the tax submission annual requirement.
Yeah.
Joe.
So this is just the step 2 of what we talked about at the last meeting for the tax budget that the county requires. So I just wanted you to have it in hand so you can review it. It's the same language, everything's the same as it is every year, but it's something that we have to pass at the next meeting.
All right.
Do you have a question?
No? Questions?
No, sir.
Okay.
Question? All right. Thanks. All right. Council have any other questions? Nope. All right. 571 pedestrian path loan documents is next on the agenda. Manager Sheriff?
Yeah, you should have in your packet the breakout. There's 2 different options. As you may recall, the original grant was just under $1 million. And then we went back and got $800,000 in funding for the lighting. But the total cost of the project is still $2.3 million, 2.316 or 2.354, depending on which option we end up going with ODOT. So what Ms. Grice has prepared the loan documents for that amount to make up our match. So this will be the first trail I've built here. It's a little more expensive than the last one I built, but you are getting lighting on the whole trail, and that's pretty unique.
All right.
So what is the total cost to the village?
Either 554 or 592. There's one issue still to be worked out with ODOT.
And that's with the added lighting that we,
Correct.
which was, if I remember right,
100%.
like 200 to 280,000 or something.
800,000.
But I mean, like what we added at the end to extend the
Yes,
lighting.
yes.
Okay, so we kind of went up in increments.
It did.
Okay.
So that 552 or 598, does that include the interest on the loan?
Don't know about that.
The amount that, the total cost of the village is like, everyone, I hope you have that.
Yeah, the 314,900.
So this was, I really worked with Choice One last week to get solidified numbers. The total cost of village is 1.1 million. We've already spent like 300,000 of it on design. Okay, so we've already paid for that. So the amount that we're looking at here is basically in, like, you have to kind of look at this pinkish, orangey
The
color.
793.
Yes. But that's like a worst case scenario as of right now. That's with contingencies and everything built into it. Now, I know that Choice One told me last week that they, depending on what the Conservancy has made changes, that they're hoping that the contingencies, change orders will absorb that additional cost. Now, I will say the one thing with ODOT is they want all their money up front before the beginning of the project. So that's why, hence the financing, okay? So we have to give them possibly our full amount, whatever that estimate is, when they send their engineers out and they design their own estimate. We have to pay that all up front. So we're going through the loan program through them, so all the money will be there, ready to give them at the beginning of the project. If the project comes in under, then it just gets returned back and we don't use it. Now, we got awarded $800,000 for the streetlights. That obviously came in at like 598, whatever, I forget what it was, 598 total. Those streetlights, I'm waiting to hear back, and Choice One's waiting to hear back. Because that came in $200,000 less than the grant, we're wanting to see if we can use that $200K to apply it towards the rest of the project, which would be great. I was initially told we could, but then Choice One contacted them and are like, well, we better double check before we go forward. So that amount could be even less, the village portion, if we can use that $200,000, which I'm hopeful we can. I guess I just kind of want to know what direction all of you want to go in terms of a term, because I have to put that on the loan app. I'm leaning towards the 15-year. It's a 3% interest rate no matter what, and we can mix those payments a little easier per year, and you can always pay more than what you owe, and then you can pay it off earlier if you want. You can't pay it off within 3 years. There's a penalty for that, but anything beyond 3 years, you can, I mean, there's no point in strapping us to, in my opinion, like a $90-some thousand payment a year if we can, you know, kind of be a little bit more flexible, because we don't know what each year is going to happen financially moving forward, so. I threw a lot at you. I'm sorry. So if you have questions.
Okay, so we have paid $314,900 upfront already. Almost for the engineering and design.
Correct.
Now we're on the hook for the path and the construction engineering for $793,428. However, we could possibly be able to be relieved of $200K of that, depending on the grant with the lights, if we can use that towards that. Now, how soon will you know that? We don't know.
I can ask them again tomorrow if you want me to. I can ask them and see if they've gotten an answer. I can reach out to ODOT directly because I have his contact
Because
information.
when do we have to finalize the $793,428
So
moving forward to keep the project going?
ODOT has told me that they should have the application no later than sometime in July, because they need like possibly up to a 90-day turnaround for the loan app to go through, to have cash in hand for when it starts. So that's why you guys can either read it and pass it at the June meeting, or you can pass it at the July meeting. It's whatever, if you want to discuss it more, if you're comfortable with what we've got here, then, you know, this is basically the example they gave me of the resolution. So, you know, it's really up to what all of you want to do. This is just my recommendation.
Okay, so I think we got a little time to wait to see if this $200K comes through, because then we're down to a little under 600.
Yes.
So that would be nice if that came about. So the other monies, the ODOT grant, that covered the 598,807, and the MVRPC grant covered the 962,407. There's nothing else out there that we know of that's going to pop up that we need to prepare for or anything?
Not that I'm aware of. This
Okay.
is what Kay and Andy and I forget what the other. Alan. That's what Alan got with me last week on. So this is as solid numbers as we can have right now.
Okay.
I mean, it's obviously got some moving parts in it still, but I'll reach out and I'll ask when we can know about the 200,000, just to confirm.
That'd be great, because I think it would be smart for us to wait that out a bit to see if that comes through. If it doesn't, then we're going to have to, make a decision for sure. You said no later than the first July meeting.
Right.
With this. And your recommendation is the 15-year at $66,000 a year payment.
That would be my recommendation. I mean, if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, then that's fine, but we have a lot of additional things coming out of the general fund expenditure-wise and not knowing what's going on with the development, if we pick up the north side, things like that affect those revenues. I think it's better to be a little bit more conservative with it, and then if the years that we can pay more, we can pay more.
Gotcha.
So,
Do we ever discuss at the end of the year, like, what we could throw more money at debt-wise? Like, as an organized council or as the budget committee or anything?
I don't know if we've talked about that. I think we went into depth about the fire truck and how to handle that one. A lot of them are through like governmental agencies like this one, so the interest rates are relatively low. Comparative rates that I got for this were in the 5s to 6s. So this is a 3%. You can't get that anywhere right now. But I mean, we can talk about it during the budget process.
Because, some of the investments we're in are so low interest yielding. I would just think it's worth discussing at the end of every year as we close things out. Just put it on people's radar as a thought process, or as a maybe a housekeeping exercise at the end of each year before we start the next budget committee. Just a thought.
So if I find the answer out to that before the next meeting, do you just want me to let you know? And then do you want me to tell Megan to put it in the packet to be read then if we know an answer?
I think if we know that,
Yep.
that we
I
could
think that would be
definitely
helpful.
look at moving forward sooner rather than later.
Sure.
Now, I just have a question for the city manager. So refresh our memory a bit with this pedestrian trail project. I know it's been talked about a few times, but it's scheduled to be completed in '26. Now, this will only be on the south side of 571, correct?
Correct.
Yep, and the pedestrian path will go all the way from Stillwater Crossings across the bridge?
Go from the intersection of 48 and 571 towards Tip City to Rachel Ann Boulevard,
All the way to Rachel Ann, okay.
11 feet wide.
Do we have a rendering that choice one is made?
Not of the whole length. They do have some renderings of certain sections we can bring.
That'd be-
Can you send those to us so we
Sure,
can see
absolutely.
it? I feel like this is just a lot of money. I mean, even overall with all the grants, it's like a lot of money to see, and I'm not against it, but just to be like, we spent a lot of money, so I would think like seeing renderings and seeing what we're getting and what it's gonna look like would be
Absolutely.
an easy request.
The crazy thing is we went this route because we thought it was going to save us a bunch of money over a footpath bridge, which we estimated at a 2
3
million.
million. 3 million.
Okay, and then we end up being kind of almost in the same ballpark. I mean, if you call 500,000-600,000 the same ballpark, but I mean, yeah, strange.
So if we do the funding, if we get the funding approved and everything, like by July, when would construction start?
If there's no delay because of the Conservancy District, I would expect the construction to start perhaps the end of this year, next spring.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong too with the lighting. The lighting's on both sides of the road, just,
No, it's only on the one side.
it's only on the side where the
South
path's
side,
at.
correct.
Okay.
Is there eventually going to be like a crosswalk from the north
When there's a
side?
stoplight, when the stoplight goes in, the whole intersection will be reconfigured. Now, to get the stoplight, we'll have to do a traffic study once the development is to the point that it makes sense to prove the need for the stoplight.
And do we pay for that, or does the developer,
sorry?
do we pay for that?
I'm not sure that has been discussed, who's going to pay for the traffic study. So that would be negotiable.
Okay. I think it would be probably good when it comes time to do a traffic study to talk about who's paying for that, just because those things seem really expensive.
All right, any other questions, comments?
Thank you,
You're
Jill,
welcome.
for the detailed explanation, and Jeff, thank you as well.
Certainly.
Next is the demolition permit fee schedule.
Yeah, I know we have everything about the right-of-way permit, but I guess I'm not seeing, unless it's in your packet, not mine. I know Mr. Herron was going to give us a draft for the demolition permit fee, but I'm afraid that may have been missed. Did you see one?
I did not, no.
That may have to come to you at a later date. I apologize. I know we have quite a complete list of the right-of-way permit information. That's more comprehensive, but our thought was we're just going to look at what other communities in our area are charging for demolition permits. Again, the point is not to raise revenue, it's to get information and to make sure that any demolition that's taking place is done safely and by a licensed entity. Maybe it's just me not knowing to look for the right place on our iPads, but I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either. All right, we'll just skip on to the right-of-way permit. I know this one's in here.
Yep. Got a lot of information on it.
All right, you want to kick us off?
I'll be happy to. The thought process was that especially with so many different entities doing cable and fiber optic and underground and damaging private property and then subcontractors disappear, and of course, the residents are unhappy, and they want the village to do something, but it wasn't our construction that caused the damage. So this is an effort to remedy that situation. Most communities, if you're going to do work in their right-of-way, require a permit. So this will just get us caught up, I think, with most other communities. And going forward, now, obviously, we don't have a lot of information from work that's been done in the 4 years since I've been here, but there'll only be more as we're going forward. So this is pretty comprehensive. I know that Mr. Herron reviewed it thoroughly, and I think he did an excellent job, he and Ms. Broche, to cover all our bases as far as the information we'd want to collect.
All right. Yeah, I think it'd be good to have a record of who did what work where.
Absolutely.
Is this going to include driveways?
Driveways aren't technically right-of-way. Driveways are typically a private property.
If you go into the road, it's not a right-of-way?
There's right-of-way on either side, but the driveway is private property. So
Okay.
if they're doing work in there, that's the private property owner.
Okay. I mean, to install a new driveway, because
To
you're
install it,
connecting to
we
the
already have-
right
We
of
already
way.
have a permit or curb cut if you're installing a driveway.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question.
It's okay, I didn't clarify very well.
All right.
And this ordinance that is in here, adding section 55, is not correct. I sent one to Ben and Jeff, I think,
Mhm.
Friday maybe. I know I got it in late. It's actually section 159. I went through the whole section, added what needed to be added, so it's pretty comprehensive. So you guys should be getting that. Because I think Ben just reviewed it today, so.
Yes.
All right. Any questions, other comments, council?
Yeah, I'd encourage you to look it over thoroughly. If you have any questions before the next regular meeting, let me know. But,
Does this include fines if they choose to do work without a permit? Okay.
correct. It's got to have sticks and carrots.
All right. Next is the Troy Water Agreement.
Yeah, that document is in your packet, and a little bit of history, I think, might be helpful. This agreement actually was expired quite some time ago, at the end of the year ago. And at that time, as I recall, I believe the council did authorize to execute the agreement. We were still in conversation with the county and some other entities, so we didn't go ahead and execute it. The longer those conversations went, we ended up getting actually a little bit better deal. I would suggest turn to page 10 in that agreement, and that shows the surcharge, where it's right now, it's been 10% since the beginning of the agreement, and it will start decreasing over time. So in 2024, it was 10, 2025, 7.5%, down to 5% in 2029. 2034, it drops to 2.5%. So those are eventually some significant reductions in our premium that we're paying for the water. So I guess at the regular council meeting, unless you have any other questions, it'll be authorizing me to get the agreement executed and back to the city of Troy.
All right. Questions, comments?
Thanks for, thanks for working that. I know it's been in the works for a long time. I know when I initially ran for the council seat in 2011, this was one of the big things that was on my agenda to really get worked out and something better for the overall community and for the water rates and so forth. So I think it sounds like things are definitely moving in the right direction. So,
Yeah, I think it's important. It was very much a collaborative effort. I worked with the county. County also buys water from Troy, so their staff and myself, and then, of course, Mr. Titterton and Troy, and we were eventually able to reach this agreement.
so who is a larger customer for Troy? Is it the county or is it us?
I'm not sure. I do know that their largest two customers are us and the county. So we're either 1 and 2 or the other way, 1 and 2.
Okay.
So we're a significant customer base for them.
But we also have Ludlow Falls as well.
Correct, correct.
Yeah, in that number, so.
I'm going to ask a dumb question, but, so we bill our citizens for water, and then somewhere out there, there's a meter that registered the water to Milton, and then, so we cut one water bill a month to Troy?
Yeah.
What's that look like?
It was about
I'm
30,
sorry, our average monthly water bill
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Troy is about 36,000.
I was gonna say
I will,
35,000.
yes,
So
okay,
I-
well,
I
I'm not
did-
gonna complain about mine
Yeah.
anymore.
I did some quick math to look at the cumulative savings over the course of the term of this, and it's about 338,000.
So when Ben and them, the village tracked down the leaks that we had, and we invested in that equipment, and
Yes.
we're really saving
A lot
good
of
money
money.
after good money on that.
I'm not sure how many months ago it was, but we had our first month with no discernible water loss. That had never happened. Ben and Tim said they'd never seen that. Now, unfortunately, we've gone back and had another month where it was much higher that we can't explain yet, but we're still having more months with much less leak than we ever had before.
I just wanted to add that into the whole discussion, just, you know, what good stewards our village is or tries to be with that resource.
Any other questions, comments? Right, next is the gas and electric aggregate update.
Yeah, you have a copy of the draft legislation, and my understanding, this is just simply the renewal of the power of attorney. It authorizes me to sign a new agreement that has the power of attorney so the aggregate can act on our behalf.
Is this the same aggregate as before?
I don't think so. I'm not sure they've even determined who the aggregate's going to be, but they got to get the power of attorney to finish negotiating.
Can you do me a favor?
Sure.
Can you send to all of us what the current aggregation rate is that we have in place for both gas and electric?
I think,
Is it a variable rate right now, or?
I think one of the two expired and maybe both had, and we had to go back into the pool with the public until we get this straightened out.
Okay, Okay.
That's the way I remember it.
okay.
Because the one company went belly up.
Yep, yep. They
So
thought
that,
they had
that
a
put us
deal.
back in the pool.
Right, yes.
Okay.
So we're.
So
we're not
currently,
paying the
there's
market.
no aggregation
That
that
is
is
correct.
available for anyone
Correct.
in the village?
Well, there's others out there in the market that
Right.
can individually, but there's none that we're offering as the village as a whole.
Okay. Because I've been out searching for my rates because
Okay.
mine expired, and I used the Buco website to compare the apples to apples and oranges to oranges and see what's best out there. So there's
Right.
not a whole lot of opportunities with the different companies. But okay, that's good. Sorry I
No, that's fine.
It's a good question.
missed that.
Great. Next is the Stillwater Crossings legislation.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say this is the same language that's been before you for quite some time. I'm not aware of any changes. It's just a matter of it's the last piece of legislation that is required to allow the developer to issue the bonds that will pay for the infrastructure on the north side.
From what I understand, the deal changed, though, from the south side. It's not the same deal. It's a different deal. I mean, there may be parts that overlap that are the same, but it's not 100% the same.
Yes, yeah,
Well, it
there's
never was.
Time has changed. I don't know that it ever was exactly the same. The principle
Oh,
is the
yeah, that's what I
same.
meant. I was just saying that whatever deal was here or even presented at first is different than the first, or the south side deal. Is there a reason why we went differently? Or they went differently?
That's a question for the developer or their advisors. I'm not privy to the logic on
From,
why they proposed this.
from my understanding and some of the conversations with them is it somewhat favors the developer more as far as the constraints on the finances related to it. It locks in the TIF for a longer amount of time, more likely to run the full 30 years versus any opportunity we have like on the south side to get ahead of it, pay it off early, and things like that. So it would it would be locking us into probably the full life of the TIF versus any control we would have as far as being able to get in there after 5, 10 years or whatever and pay it off early, and then be able to, the TIF money we collect, then the village controls it instead of it being to, you know, the pilot thing, the payment in lieu of taxes. So then we have more say-so what we do with the TIF money, how long we collect it versus how long till we cancel things and just go back to regular property tax. On the south side, we're more in the driver's seat earlier in the process, to my understanding. We have that opportunity. And to me, that gives us a little more guidance and control. If we want to do something different with the CRA or the TIF or something, if we can get it done early, we control that a little more. That's to my understanding of probably very lengthy and probably very boring on their part of repounding the information that they've given us multiple times into my head. That's kind of what I've drawn out of it. And Scott, you were on the last call we did with
Yeah.
Jeff and
Right.
the finance and the bond people. Was there any different take you got out of that?
I would say this, we put together that talking paper from the notes that we took from what Dayon had received from previous contacts with Jeff and the individuals from Ricker and
Graydon.
Mr. Brossert and Calvin.
Calvis.
Yeah.
And they've been
Calvis.
super gracious.
Yeah, they've been great to work. I would just say, look at that talking paper, because there's some things in there with the differences between the north and south side that they called out to us in our discussion. And if you have any specific questions, I would say either ask Jeff for some clarification from one of those two gentlemen, or contact Dayon or I, and we can talk through it. And anything that you don't understand, by all means, I would, find out before the next meeting, so you for sure understand the differences between the two, because what Dayon said is exactly correct from what we understand in our discussion, that there is a significant difference between the two.
I believe there's one significant difference that's actually to your advantage on the north side over the south. All the comments you made about the financing are accurate, but on the north side, we control if there's any significant change in the project. In the development agreement, there's language. For example, the issue came up on the south side with the streetlights. Now, that got resolved, but only through negotiation. On the north side, if there's a significant change, the village manager decides what constitutes a significant change, and the village has to agree.
See, that makes me feel a little uneasy, actually, because it puts too much decision-making capacity in one person's lap, because we really don't have a definition of what's considered significant change. We didn't put a dollar amount on it.
That's
We
true.
didn't put a description to it.
I guess you could waive that portion of it. I thought it was important to have the ability to,
I just
And
mean
you
it's
all signed
one
off.
person versus a broader group of, like, council understanding it, which the whole purpose of having it there, I agree with. It's so that we're not coming to council with every little nickel dime change that somebody could be making, but it's not defined very well, in my personal opinion.
well, if you want to make other changes, now's the time to do it.
I think defining significant change and then changing it to it has to be voted on by council would be helpful.
It can be, that's just not what the agreement says now.
Yeah, I think
Obviously,
changing
I'm
it to
gonna-
that.
But obviously, I'm going to do what you want, so you have that ability through your manager.
Yeah, so
That
can
was the
we,
intent anyway.
right, but can we change the language to define significant change? I don't know what that looks like. I don't know, like,
That would be a very difficult concept to quantify. Yes, I think you can, if you want to come up with a definition.
And
I think the problem could be, though, is a significant change. They're gonna put in apartments, and right now, the understanding is they're high-end apartments. And to me, it would be a significant change if he if they decided they were gonna make them low-income apartments. However, from the developer's standpoint, there's no definition, so they could very easily be like, I told you were getting apartments, these are apartments.
No, I don't think, I think the way it's written, if we perceive it's a significant change, we make that decision.
How would we know it changed, though, once he's building?
And I'd almost have to go with the developer on that, on your scenario. Whereas if he went from saying he was going to build like, single level to like a 30-story tall apartment buildings, that would definitely be a significant change.
Right.
I mean, even though they're still apartment buildings, they've increased in capacity greatly, and as opposed to just who was going to, be the resident.
Sure.
But-
And I'm not against, it's not about
Oh, no,
like
I know what
anything
you're saying, yeah.
against anybody. It's just
No.
kind of like, are we going to build apartments that are, I'm just gonna build these apartments and they're gonna rent for $700 a month? That's a different income level for the income taxes to make up for the money that we're losing in the TIFs. So how, like, I feel like there's got to be some significant change. That's pretty broad.
Well, I would also add to that, on the apartment part, is the difference between doing 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom and marketing empty nesters versus you go to 3-bedroom and you start attracting kids. Then it's impacting 15-year tax abatement to the school on a commercial. That, to me, that's a significant change, because you're putting some impact on another community entity that's outside their control. They don't have a voting say-so in it. And that was one of the things that was through planning board, through what was shared in the PUD, was the opposite. It was 2-bedroom, mostly 1-bedroom, and empty nester market. So to me, that would be a significant change. But because there's no definition.
There's 3 different
Yes.
ideas of significant change
Yeah.
right here, so I feel like some baseline definition,
The other thing I'm not sure.
and I think it should be voted on by council.
That I'm not sure is why in the TIF we are not having, it'd be towards the end of the north side that we would do and loop in the water system and also do a water tower. And that's not in the TIF, as far as that's going to end up coming back on the village to fund. I'm not sure why that's not a part of the TIF either. And I've asked the question before. If someone answered it to any level, I definitely didn't lock it away, but I don't know.
There is a water tower in the long-term plan in his design. It goes out by the commercial area. Now, in terms of it being paid for out of the TIF, that's not involved, but I mean,
Right.
it's in our long-term plan to also loop the system.
It'd be the village.
Well, not, maybe, but it wouldn't necessarily be the developers, what I'm saying.
Well, it's not defined now who's paying
Correct,
for it.
correct. That's exactly
And
right.
without it being defined, it's certainly not going to be them, probably.
They ended up paying for streetlights, they didn't have to.
Because they wanted to do north side.
That's exactly right.
So there was motivation.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
But, I would just, when you're talking a couple $1 million for a water tower, I would think it would be in our best interest to have a plan for that, same as paving it
Oh,
over
I
30
agree.
years, knowing what that would cost and some other things. There's a lot to plan for over a 30-year tax abatement, and I don't know that we've, to my knowledge, done our complete due diligence as far as how we're going to accomplish everything over that period of time and what all's included in that over time. We're still kind of figuring some stuff out on the south side as we go, and we're a few years into this. I'm not even going to beat everybody up on commercial. We all want commercial. The village wants it. The developer wants it. There is no disagreement on wants. Yeah, I'm not even going to hold up anybody's time on that.
All right, we have other questions, comments?
And I'm just looking, I did have a copy of this that I'd given to everyone. So it does have the key clarifications on the differences between both agreements. on both the north and the south. And it does talk about specifics within multiple TIF districts on the north side, whereas that wasn't included in the south side. And like what Jeff said, with the north agreement being more flexible in modifying the project. There's a lot of other different things in here with the bond structure and financing and so forth. So I just recommend taking a look at it. If you have any further questions, please bring it up to either myself or Dayon, or for sure Jeff.
All right. Any other questions? Jeremy? No? I thought you had something to say.
No.
Sorry. All right, next is organizational structure legislation.
Yeah, it's ordinance CM 25-33. This is, I believe, the same version that's been previously provided to you. The only change being adding the new position that's been proposed, the assistant to the municipal manager.
I don't think anyone wanted, or at least here, wanted assistant to the
How would you?
municipal
what
manager.
do you want?
We wanted an assistant manager so to help take stuff off your plate, not to be,
We'll make that change. Okay. I'm happy to make that change. That's a more, that's a more expensive position, absolutely.
executive assistant, yeah.
We'll make that change. Thank you.
Is it possible to get like a job description that we can kind of
I'll
work
have to revise it
through?
because it was described in that, but yes,
Yeah.
that's easy. ICMA, I can pull that off of.
Okay,
I think we had internally, between council members, bounced around some ideas, not only in description, but in title, and I think we should probably coalesce those and maybe feed those
Please.
to
Yeah.
Jeff, so that he can pull anything he thinks is great out of it.
That would be good.
And nix anything he thinks we're.
Send me what you.
We don't do this on a daily basis, and obviously, this
That's
is more
fine.
your world, but.
Send me what your wishes are and we'll incorporate them.
Appreciate that.
All right. So let's see, next is the ISCS conference update.
Turn it over to Counselor
That's-
Gregory.
that's me. We went to the ICSC conference in Las Vegas, which is it's one of the largest conferences for retailers, cities, economic development professionals, builders, developers. There were a lot of different kinds of companies there. It was huge. But we talked mostly to retailers to talk about Stillwater and, our downtown and filling those spaces. One of the best things that I got out of it, we had retail strategies here a couple weeks ago. We got some really good conversations with them about what they're able to do. Something that I learned that I don't think that I know I didn't know, but I don't think we think about a lot is that, we really want retail, but what we want and what we're going to get may not always be in alignment. Doesn't mean we're not getting retail. What I'm saying is I really want Taco Bell and Dunkin' Donuts, but they all have, and I have sheets. Marco's Pizza gave me a sheet, and I talked to this gentleman at Marco's Pizza, and he said, I absolutely will not compete with your places like Clark's and Tom's. So Marco's Pizza is I'm not coming to West Milton, because they've got all their information on these little sheets. I'll pass them around. And I think that was really fascinating, just to kind of see how we're limited by who is willing to come here. It was a really great experience. And then we also have a membership now to the ICSC, and I haven't dug into it yet, but I will, and there's a wealth of information on that too.
Awesome.
So did any of the discussions or contacts that you talked to, did they have a real interest in Stillwater Crossings development or interest in the village? Because I know you sent some messages, you talked to something like an Aldi's, and you talked to other different fast food restaurants, different establishments like that. Was there any type of real strong possibilities that they really will talk more with the developer or have more discussions?
There was a retail pizza, a chain pizza place that was interested. They've tried to come to West Milton a couple times, and it hasn't worked out for them yet. But other than that, there weren't like massive, like, we're ready to go in West Milton yet. But it's also like, we didn't have scheduled meetings. So because we didn't have those scheduled meetings, there's like gatekeepers at the front that get people to their meetings with those companies. So I did pick up a bunch of business cards. I sent LinkedIn invitations. I sent an email to a couple places and copied the developer. And then hopefully we'll have a meeting with the developer in a couple weeks about the Retail Strategies Company, who, that's their full-time job, is bringing retail.
I think something to say about them too is the fact that they have access to data that is not just discoverable by us on the internet through Google or through, there's certain information that is valuable to businesses and companies, and they pay a fee to have access to this information. And as we look for, or go forward in considering working with them, you can bash your head into the wall for forever trying to figure out what works in a village our size. But like you just said, that's what they do. And they have access to these resources and information, and they're not just out there throwing bait out. They're actually able to tailor a little more to what makes sense to our village, our size, with the traffic that we have and the uniqueness to our situation. I mean, I think we discussed the other day that, it's everybody in Laura probably will come to Milton for a gallon of milk and a gallon of gas. But everybody in P Hill drives, if they can't get it there, they're driving to Troy. Same thing, Covington's going to Piqua. Everybody's got that next closest thing, but we're unique to where we are in the pool of traffic that we deal in. And I really think an organization like that's probably going to understand that at a much deeper level than any of us do.
They do it all day, every day.
Yeah.
And a light bulb came on for me that they do this, like, villages our size are like where they thrive. And the light bulb that came on for me was these other towns have staff. They have an economic development team that solely works on that, and we just don't have the staff for that. And it makes more financial sense for us to hire a company like that than to hire 3 or 4 people, because they give us 4 staff members. So like, it makes more sense. And plus, like, how long, once we have some retail in here, how long would that job last? It made a lot of sense when they talk about like the small business and being at ICSC and seeing how it really does, like, why they do focus on small communities like ours.
And I think from the get-go, we've always talked about being sensitive to not cannibalizing the existing businesses we have with steering the growth and development we have. How do we walk that tightrope? I mean, and again, being that they do that all day, every day, I would think they would be sensitive to where that makes sense and to where it doesn't.
Yeah, we did talk about that, and they agree. Like, they will have discussions with us before moving forward with retail. They will make sure that it's okay before they move forward with anybody.
I'd just like to have West Milton capture some of that money that was originating here but being spent outside. out here.
$66 million.
Yeah, I mean, that was an incredible number my goodness. So, yeah, if we can capture some of that, businesses should be able to thrive within those thresholds.
Right,
Yeah.
right, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, all right. Anything else? All right, is there any old business?
I have a couple things. I know we talked about it before. I don't know if we can get them on the calendar, maybe for either the next council meeting or council workshop, but it'd be great to get an update from the developer with Stillwater Crossings South and how things are going. I will tell you that I drove back there this weekend because I saw the new street light poles that are going up, so that's looking good coming in there. I did also drive back there, and I think we need to make sure that we get a handle on this too. I know there was a complaint from an individual that lives back there about the high grass area around the back of the cul-de-sac where they have their mailboxes. So I drove back there. It is extremely high. So I don't know if contact has been made with them, how soon they're going to be getting that resolved, but it was.
I talked to Mr. Morris today. He was at a loss as to why that wasn't mowed and everything else was. He was going to look into it today. Didn't say how quickly he could get it mowed, but he was surprised it wasn't taken care of with everything else.
Okay. So do they have a dedicated company that is going to be maintaining that?
I believe the
better?
HOA does, but I that's a good question for them. I don't want to tell you wrong.
Okay. Because when I drove out there, it looked like it wasn't, mowed with a mower. It was like some of the area, probably someone took a big, bush hog down through there, and that's what and it doesn't look, to me, it doesn't look great. I mean, it's mowed, but I would think it would look a little bit nicer, especially not too far from the entrance area, but,
That's a drainage pond, isn't it? Part of it? That
On the
area?
other side.
At the back by the mailboxes is drainage pond.
Right. So mowing that with too big of pieces, like a bush hog, gives you drain problems too, doesn't it? You would want to
Depending on
mow
what
it,
you're doing.
you'd want to do it right so that
You're
it's
not gonna
mulching
cost
and staying in
yes,
place.
yes,
And
yes.
if you're talking leaving 12-foot or 12-inch pieces of flail mowed grass,
No.
you're going to have drainage problems.
You're going to have a problem.
So I think even how often and at what height it's mowed is really even more important in a situation like that than it is just somebody's owns a piece of property, flat ground, and it just looks bad. Because now you're talking about a possible drainage issue. So,
My other question with the north side, so the way that I understand it is, it's all contingent upon this Stillwater Crossings legislation that we've talked about. If that is approved at the next council meeting, then the next step would be the funding for the infrastructure to start that work and move forward with that. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay. But yeah, if we could have them
I
come
believe
talk
the
to us.
developer wanted to meet with you as well.
Okay. That'd be great.
So with the grass mowing, at what point do we do code enforcement? Do we start code enforcement?
We're doing code enforcement.
So they've been given like their letter and then,
Well, yeah, we would call them, give them notice. They've been,
We don't have to do the letters anymore with the legislation that was passed last year. We just have to do the
Just give them
newspaper
notice.
notice and put it on the newspaper notice and put it out on the website and on our Facebook, and we've already done that back in May. We aren't necessarily doing that. Jeff and I have been working with Josh Horn, who goes around and takes care of all those from the street department. He's been pretty good on top of
oh,
it.
he's been great.
Yeah, so, and he's keeping a list. I think he's been giving that to Megan, or at least to your office.
Yeah,
I've
I'm
not
getting a copy
necessarily
of it.
seen the list, but usually what happens is if he has an issue, he contacts us, and then as the code enforcement kind of the head of it, we go out, and then we will make contact if we need to. He's had good results so far this year. There's been a few complaints of neighbors calling about other neighbors, because they mow the front yard, not necessarily the backyard, but he's addressed those and gotten it taken care of.
Can you remind us how it all works again? So no one gets a letter.
Right.
So Josh goes out and just mows your yard?
Yeah.
Yes,
We
so
do- we do
Josh
that.
will go out, he'll do a door tag, and he'll give you 7 days to get
Notice.
your grass mowed. If not, we'll mow it, and we assess your property tax. So what happens is at the end of the mowing season, they keep track of all the lawns they've mowed and how many times. They turn that into Ms. Grice, who then files with the county and assesses it against their property tax. So we do that one time a year, but we keep track of them through the whole year instead of doing it every time. So he'll go out and put a door tag on. I think they just ordered new door tags, if I remember right. So he'll go out and put a door tag on that says, you got 7 days to get this taken care of, otherwise we're coming back. So we don't have to do the letters and all that. He just door tags them, and I think it's a red tag. It's pretty noticeable when they get home. Somebody's been there and made a notice. And they noticed that they need to take care of this. So he puts a date on there, he keeps track of it. And if he goes back by in 7 days and you haven't mowed it, he just mows it.
So, has it been 7 days with the Stillwater since they've been notified to mow it?
Jeff just talked to him today.
I just talked to him today.
Okay, so if it's not done by Wednesday, we'll just go mow it.
That's a little different, like the pond and whatever. That's not like somebody's yard.
Who owns the property?
Stillwater does the common areas, so that's why the HOA, I think, is dealing with it. But as the counselor said, it's not like mowing a yard. The drainage pond has to be mowed a certain way.
I don't know.
I'm not sure we got the equipment yet. I'm not sure we do.
Was the original complaint the mailboxes or the drainage pond?
Well, the
It's all
mailboxes
right
are
there together.
Right there.
But I mean,
The mailboxes would be in a place they probably could still get to, but it's everything around is growing up and it's just looking shabby. It's not looking professional. I mean, if you spent that much money on a home and they're making it a nice place, would you want the grass to be that tall around the mailboxes? I wouldn't either. I would agree with that. We, last year we did, there was an issue, and Jeff will remember this, but there was an issue because the developer had hired someone and they never showed up.
Right. Same with the plowing.
And they didn't know they weren't showing up because they're not there all the time. And so we were able to get a hold of them last year, and immediately they got someone in there within a couple days of being notified, and they had to take care of it. So they've been responsive. The problem is that Jason or
Ron.
Mr. Kaufman don't always come up here and don't always know that because there's nothing for them to really come there at this point to take a look at because not much is going on. So
We got our first email on that, though. It hasn't been just a week. When was the first one?
It's been before we went to Las Vegas.
yes,
It was before
Scott
that.
sent
Yep.
an email to Ron and Jason, right?
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not aware of any of that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's
If I
fine.
misspoke.
No, you're okay.
And are the well, he looks for them.
I mean, I'm just curious, like, do you bill the HOA?
Actually, we sent our letters last year to actually Mr. Kaufman and Jason.
Okay.
Okay.
That's who we would deal with directly because ultimately they're going to be responsible for it. 'Cause
I'm not trying to be like
they're-
jerky about it, I
yeah,
just
I
like,
think-
if we
Well,
have
they're
code
neck deep in
enforcement.
the HOA, so it hasn't been released to my knowledge.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, if the grass is over 6 inches, we say, hey, you need to mow your grass.
Right.
2 weeks go by, they haven't remowed the grass, like, at what point are we just, but if we don't have the equipment to mow it, then we need to,
yeah, I don't know that
Or is
we
it
would
like
have
just
anything.
weeded? I
I'd
haven't
have to
been
talk
back
to-
there.
I'd have to talk to Ben. I don't know that we own any equipment where we can mow that bank like it needs to be mowed around the retention pond. The rest of it, yeah, we probably could mow some of that.
and that may be why it hasn't been mowed.
I don't know.
I don't either, but we need to find out.
So Chief, one other question for you, just
Yes, sir.
clarification. So with the way things are now with the new ordinance, the notice goes out at the beginning of the mowing season
Yes.
in the paper
Yes.
and on the website to notify people
Yes.
that this is how things are. And then after that time frame, if Josh sees that someone hasn't mowed the grass, they put a door tag on there.
Yes, sir.
And then they have 7 days from that date to take care of it. If they
Yes.
don't, then the village takes care of it
Yes.
and they get billed.
We do not have to go back and talk to them. We don't give them any more warnings. We go back and mow. And Josh then keeps a running tally of who he mows, because we do have a couple properties in town that he mows on a weekly basis all summer, every year. It has for the last several years.
Okay.
And we assess those properties every year.
And they're just okay with,
Yeah, one of them in particular may come to a closure this year. Jeff and I have been talking about that property for quite some time.
Yeah.
And Ms. Grice looked it up here a while back. There is quite an assessment on that property that it hasn't even been paid. But supposedly they're selling the property it's one of those that I've been working closely with and been on, trying to get it destroyed, if not rehabbed. And they'll have to pay those back property assessments before that can ever close. So they did call in here last week, early last week or late the week before, from the title company wanting to know what was owed on the property so they could put that in with the closing. So there should be some money coming from that shortly. And if I remember right, Ms. Grice, do you remember, it's like $4,000?
I'll have to look it up.
It was quite a chunk of change because we've been mowing it the last 4 or 5 years.
Longer than that.
Yeah, at least that.
Well, my concern is too, not only the south side, but the north side is starting to get out of
Yes,
control too.
it is.
Where the golf course is at, I know they're gonna be doing a controlled burn with that building and so forth, but sorry, that looks terrible over there. I mean, the weeds are so high along the road and up around the parking lot, and, I know now the parking lot, there's just so much heavy vehicle traffic through there. I turned around in there the other day when I went across to Stillwater Crossings, and, the parking lot is totally being torn up too as well,
Right.
but I know it's ultimately gonna be developed.
Sure.
But I think we need to mention to them as well that I know at one time there was a individual in the community that bailed that and helped them out and went over and got hay out of it. So I don't know if that's another option or
Might be.
what we can do, but it's
Right.
it is another thing. It definitely
That's
needs to be
something
done.
we'll address tomorrow. I'll talk to Jeff more about it in the morning, and if we need to contact Mr. Kaufman or Jason. Jason's usually the person we call, and Jason usually gets it done. If he's aware of it, he's pretty much on it.
Okay, thank you.
We didn't have any real problems last year. I will say, within a couple of days, Jason had someone there because he wasn't aware of it, so.
Okay.
We'll call tomorrow and find out from Jason and let him know the concerns that we have.
Well, one positive I saw was on Hamilton Street. We had all the problems with the home there at one time and the owner, and I believe it was the previous owner of the ice cream place that totally redone that. It's on the market. It looks
Nice.
amazing.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is an awesome,
was-
awesome place. He's done a
That was
great
code
job with
enforcement
it.
in action.
Code enforcement.
Yeah.
work.
Yes.
Yeah, great work with it, but that place is something. Yeah.
Did a-
It makes you realize you don't have to give up on any property,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah, it is amazing.
Yeah. And good news, I saw that the ice cream shop is back open as well. so-
Yes.
They are.
Yeah.
I've been there a couple times.
Good deal.
Sorry, I don't want to beat a dead horse about the grass, but I am. The notices that go out, so are they strictly for the height of the yard? Does it include bushes that are taking over the house, or
So-
weeds, or dead trees?
Yes, what he tags them for is tall grass, and that's
Okay.
what he takes care of. If it's bushes and other things, if we get complaints on those, or we see those fall under what Jason, Lieutenant Stevens and I do. So that falls under a totally different category than the grass does. It may be under the same section, but I'd have to go back and look at that section, but that's something we address. We've done several of those. There was a house over in the middle of town we did last year, and the lady that lived there was an older lady, couldn't get out to do it herself, and was able to get some folks in. They cleaned it all up and fixed it around the property and made it look really presentable. So those are some of the things that we do work with, yes. So if you know of something or you see something, let us know. We are gearing back up and getting out for code enforcement. The winter's kind of a slow time. There's not a whole lot goes on through the winter, but we're back in the summer and people are out and about and they're seeing more than we've seen. we're able to see in the
Yeah,
winter.
I didn't know with Josh going, does he literally go around all
So
of
Jo-
town
yeah, So
for the
Josh and
grass?
the other street crew folks all keep an eye on the grass around town. And they either tell Josh, sometimes Mr. Sheridan gets an email or may get a call.
Right, we still get complaints, I turn those over as well, but it's a
Yeah.
combination of both.
Right. So.
I know it's just the code enforcement, like we've talked about, and we were talking, a few of us the other day, if there was like one area that maybe we could like buckle down on, and with grass and mowing season, like maybe weeds and dead trees, like is our thing, and then Christmas lights in July is
We've got.
further in the
We've got some
summer.
properties that we're trying to, for lack of better terms, we're just trying to take care of one at a time because some of them are time consuming, I'll be honest with you, when they're really dilapidated and no one has cared for them for quite some time. So the one in Hamilton's one example.
Yeah.
There's another one that we're talking about where we've assessed the grass mowing. I think we're coming, hopefully, to some closure on that one. That's been a long time in coming for that one. That property's been condemned since 2006. So with any hope, that's not going to be the case here in the real near future, and that place is going to be a thriving place again, we're hoping. We'll see. So we have a couple other places in town that we're looking at. Once we get that resolved, which I think we're coming to closure, there's a couple others we're going to look at in buildings as well that we need to just focus on because they're time consuming, I'll be honest with you.
And I get those big ones and they've
Yeah.
made a big, like the one on Hamilton, like that was a huge deal. You know, and the other one you just said has been condemned for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
But literally just like the ones we drive by every single day that the thistles are this high. You know, like if it was, I'm not saying it's easy, but with Josh doing the door tags, like not that you have to go to court and face-to-face and phone calls and, but door tags even for these other
We could.
code
Oh, absolutely.
issues and,
A lot of times what we do is we just do a mailing, we let our,
or mail.
we have a code enforcement letter
Yeah.
that I've already made up. It's a draft I sent to Lene quite some time ago. We go through and check the boxes as to what is violation, and then we have a box that we can put in a different violation, but I put the most common ones on the sheet, and we send it out. One of the things we just recently talked about is tracking of those. We've been doing the tracking ourselves, but Megan Shaw, who's our water clerk, is going to start doing that for us. And she's going to kind of be our time clock. So when we send something out, because some things requires a 7-day notice, some things is a 10-day notice. So when we send those out, she's going to be our clock to say your 10 days is up, you need to go check on this. So that we have somebody pushing to make sure that we're staying on schedule as to what we've been doing.
Yeah, that's great. Would she send the letters also, or?
Generally, she can. I can give them to her and she can type them up. But a lot of times we know what the violations are more than she would. And Lieutenant Stevens signs them and they're on police department letterhead when they go out.
It's got more clout
Seems to get a little more attention than if we just sent out a letter on city letterhead.
Talking about ordinance enforcement, sir, one other question, because this was brought up to me recently. I was asked, what's going on with the Red Barn across from Certified?
That's one of those that I said we're kind of chunking it one at a time.
Okay,
That's on the list. They have been notified. They've done nothing with it.
but there's
so-
no active business in there, right?
No, there is not. Has not been for
2
probably
years?
18 to 24 months.
Yeah, 2 years, I'd say 2 years.
Yeah, every bit of it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
The other property I've been talking a lot about, Lene has somebody that she knows out there that kind of keeps me posted on that too. So she's kept us abreast of what's going on because she knows somebody lives close to that other property. But I think we're coming to a closure on that one.
To
I do
answer
have
the-
one last question for
Wait.
Sarah. Oh, sorry.
To answer the question of when that email was sent, it was on the 7th of May. I sent an email
Wow.
to the developers, and
Did you
he
get a
responded on
response?
the 9th. So,
Mayor, did you get a response?
yeah, on the 9th,
Oh, the 9th.
Jason from the developers had,
Okay.
he responded that he was sending someone else.
Thanks.
Yep. All right. All you.
Yeah, go for it.
So I just want to kind of clarify, so the way you're doing code enforcement, which I think, it sounds like you've got it really organized, which I appreciate that.
We're trying.
I appreciate you, is you're kind of focusing on like one big one at a time, instead of going blitzing down and fixing them, because that's
Right.
really what we're able to do right now, right? Like, okay,
So the smaller ones, and I'll give you an example, parking boats, trailers, travel trailers, campers, bushes, trees, not, trimming your property, not maintaining your property because gutters are falling off and other things. We address those all the time. So that's not something that we would put on a back burner. We go out and look for those, we seek those, junk motor vehicles. sometimes people, I don't know what the deal is, but they have a habit of parking across the sidewalk. We have an ordinance on that, which defeats the whole purpose of why we have a sidewalk. So we send a letter to them, sometimes a lot of what we do is education. People just aren't aware that there's ordinances that you can't park in your front yard. If there's no parking somewhere else, you just can't use your front yard as a parking spot. You can't do that. And so we have to go educate them, tell them you need either or a driveway, which you can widen your driveway and make it into concrete and park there, or you have to park on the street or in your driveway. So, but these other projects, some of them, and Jeff knows this, they're time consuming. When you get involved in properties that are highly, very, very dilapidated, stuff is falling off of them, people's walked away from them, sometimes you can't find them. It becomes time consuming and takes a little bit of time. And that whole process takes a little while. This property that I'm talking about, that I think we're coming to closure on, I had conferred with Lene, and we were just going to go ahead and move forward on the destruction, and I was going to hire a contractor to come in. I was going to go out and get bids and hire a contractor to come in and actually destroy the property and tear it down, because I was not getting any cooperation from the homeowners, the property owners, I should say. And that has all changed. Once I sent them a letter and said, on this day, I'm tearing your property down. Next thing you know, it got sold. At least we're thinking it got sold. I just talked to the realtor about it today, and I'm supposed to get a definitive answer tomorrow as to when closing is.
So is there a process, is it one officer or all the officers or the street department, or like, is it a team effort of
It's a
all
team.
40
It's a team
village
effort.
employees
Yes.
are
All the
sending
above.
you guys the
Lieutenant
addresses?
Stevens and I kind of headed up, but we get calls from the street guys all the time. They'll drive by and see something. Some of our guys, patrol officers during the day or the night will see something and they'll report it as well. And we also actively go out together in the car, because I can take notes while he's driving, and I take notes and addresses and what have you that we need to send letters out. So we have not done that this year, but we normally start that about May or June.
Yeah.
And we start running around all the different addresses and just kind of letting people know, hey, there's a violation here, you gotta clean this up.
I just feel like, Scott, there's been comments, I know, of some people, to me, that's just like, the community isn't looking as great as it could or has, with neighboring communities too. You kind of drive this way, north or east or west, and I don't know if it's just the homeowners take pride in their properties versus those communities enforcing. I don't know what makes the difference, but I think
Yeah.
you do notice the trash in driveways and
Now, a lot of the properties that we send letters out to, we have to send 2 letters, one to the property owner and one to the renter. So what I'm doing is I might look them up on the GIS, which is going to give me the property owner, which 9 times out of 10 doesn't live here. And then I go to the water department and ask them, what name's that water in? And then I send that person a letter also. And I put a CC on the bottom so that the person getting the letter at the residence understands, I also sent your landlord the copy as well. If there's a violation, there's a problem here.
is that the case more often, that it's a landlord-renter situation, or?
A lot of what we deal with.
And I know.
Not all, but a good number.
I feel like it folds into the downtown, and when we talked about the vacant property registration, and I know a lot of us were like either for it or on the fence or against it, but thinking, and I was for it, but thinking now and with retail strategies, and we were like, well, maybe we'd see what their opinion was, but I think retail strategies are focusing maybe Stillwater and would maybe try the downtown development with retail strategies.
I hope they work both things.
Well, it was a two-part
It's
thing,
two different
right?
contracts, so it
Right.
would be, they have a team that does retail, commercial retail, the big, the flyers, big businesses, and then they have a separate team, and we didn't meet them because that's not,
That's what the lady
they're not
that came
attracting
here
us.
said.
Yeah, so they have a separate team, and a separate contract that deals specifically with downtowns.
Right.
And so they would come in and basically create a plan and then help the staff execute that plan.
I would like to hear their sales pitch too.
I know, but kind of
We
why
can
we
make that happen.
wait on that at least, because, that's not gonna be tomorrow. But we just focused our code enforcement on the vacant buildings and started there as opposed to the whole vacant property registration and see what progress we can make. I don't know, that's my opinion. Even though I was for the vacant property thing, I think we could just start smaller, but on a large scale. I don't know, sorry, I have so many questions.
The downtown though has been, like, they've done a lot of
I
painting
know,
down
there
there.
are
It's
some,
looking
yes.
good. Yep.
There are some of those buildings that, the one that the bakery's in with the cute pink door, that building is beautiful. They did such a good job. I was standing, if you stand in Edward Jones' office and you look at that building, it looks amazing. It is beautiful. They did an excellent job.
Yeah, that optical shop, the old firehouse, that looks awesome. Yeah,
Yep.
I commend the people who have, it looks good.
So I had one last question for both Sarah and Jim. Sorry. Since you were with the developer, any new updates with the commercial property? I know they were working with Buckeye Burger. It seems like that's taking a very long time to get that. Is that still in the works? Is that
As far as I
not?
know.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any additional.
Or
that
the
I
gas
heard.
station, like they haven't, the gas station
gas
car wash
station.
The
thing.
last I heard on that, the one possible tenant was back in, who had told them they were not interested. The brothers, they were going to sell it to. They have one facility in Indiana, just outside of Muncie on 28. I actually drive by it when I'm going back to Indiana. I don't remember the exact name of them, but my last communication, Mr. Coughlin mentioned that they contacted him again and changed their mind. They want back in, and they're going to be negotiating to see whether or not he'll sell them the convenience store.
But my understanding was that Jason and Ron were going to be building the gas station, correct?
Yeah, they would build it, it's whether or not they own it and operate it.
Okay, do you know, I may have missed if he said this, but do you know when they plan to start building that?
I don't. I think part of it may be whether it's going to be them or somebody else. So if somebody else cuts a deal to run it, I would expect them to start building it as soon as they could to get it open.
I thought the last somebody else fell through.
It did, and then they came back to the table.
Oh.
It did
Within this last week, then?
in the last 2 weeks, but while we were gone, it was golf, and then since I've been back, he said it's back on.
Okay. Is the financing for that going to be the same with the commercial, where it has to have it 50% filled before they can build?
I don't know that one.
Well, we're past 50% on the south side.
No, 50% retail.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like
Yes, to have-
rooftops.
there's
Well,
four
my
spaces.
mind drifted to rooftops
There's
again.
4 spaces, it has to have 2 out of the 4 filled.
Gotcha.
So
It's
he's
on the
got
south side, the
one.
gas station on the south side.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know that.
All right. Any other old business?
Yes. The comprehensive land use plan, do we have an update on that? Like what, like where they're at with that? Because we were talking about the traffic,
Right.
like walkability and stuff like that.
I need to circle back with Collabo. I've not gotten an update that that's on me, not them. I just hadn't had time to get something scheduled, working on other projects.
Okay, is planning board still meeting?
Yeah,
Okay, and it's full and it's good to go?
no, I still need members.
How many are we down?
We're down 1 each on both,
I believe so.
1 each
Can
on
we make
both.
some announcements for that
Sure.
and like share? We're looking for members of planning board and board of adjustments. I've been on both. It's a great fun time. You get to learn. Send your resume or an email or just come in and see Jeff and we'll be happy to have you volunteer.
Yes, we need members and we need ones who'll show up. Sometimes they're on the
And make
board.
sure you can show up. It's one Wednesday a month. It's possible, I promise.
The first Wednesday.
The first Wednesday of the month.
yes.
Totally possible to do, I promise.
All right. Any new business? All right, seeing none.
Sorry,
Oh,
I still have old things.
Yeah, if you could come on up. Yeah.
He was here before me. You go ahead. I don't have anything
He's like furniture, he's a permanent fixture.
Do I need to turn this on?
No.
Is this on?
Yep.
Okay. My name's Harold Batters. I live down the street, 100 Tracy Lane. And what I'm here about is, here to talk about is kind of timely based on what I'm hearing. What can be done to make Dollar General make their property look presentable? It's a mess. I don't know who cuts it, but they use riding mowers, I assume. They don't even come close to trimming. When you come down Tracy Lane, it's rather embarrassing when people come into our neighborhood because they have fences on each side of the property. On our side, there are 2 dead trees, weeds high, so whoever has cut the thing last, and they cut it within the last couple days, I think, they make no attempt to trim. They just do the bare minimum that they can say they cut it, and they're gone. And I've been in to talk to the people that work in the store, and they say, we have nothing to do with it. And I know who has something to do with it. It's people in Tennessee that own the place.
Yes.
When they first proposed coming here, we fought it like crazy. I don't know, some of you folks may have been around. We didn't want them to be here. They assured us that they wanted to be good neighbors. I remember the guy came in, the developer, and, they want to be good neighbors. They don't give a care about it. So what I don't know what's been happening up to now. I don't know. I've talked to Mr. Sheridan, and he said there are times when you've arranged to have people come in and cut. Sure. There are other times, I guess, other people that Dollar General hires comes in and cuts. I don't know.
They come in and do the bare minimum. Nothing
They're
else.
terrible. They're absolutely terrible. All you have to do is take a drive, look down Tracy Lane. It's a mess. It's embarrassing. On the other side where the fence is, it's just as bad, but there's not a whole lot of traffic over there because that's a private street.
Right.
So nobody complains. But I think a lot of people see what we've got and they just say, what can we do about it? So I'm saying West Milton should be doing something about it. If you have to hire somebody to come in and not just cut, clean it up and bill those people, they've got plenty of money. They won't care. Send them the bill and do it on a regular basis. Don't let the time elapse when the weeds get real high. You send them a letter, and then somebody comes and cuts. We live there, it's crap. It's very embarrassing. So that's what I'm throwing out there.
I think you waded through a lot of us talking about
Oh, yeah.
the same.
I was waiting for somebody to mention Dollar General.
So I think your timing coming tonight times well with the conversation and the
Yeah.
mood of, you're right, it's not acceptable.
Well, it's in the main part of town, right at the corner of or across from church, right at the corner of Tracy Lane and the main drag there, and somebody coming into town, look at that and say, Centerville and Oakwood, I don't think that'd fly. I don't think it'd fly. Very, very long anyway.
Well, it probably shouldn't fly here.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't. But if nobody complains, nobody does anything.
We've already had to go once this year. I know they got served a letter by Josh, and they got someone in there like in the next couple of days. But exactly as you said, sir, as soon as he went in to serve the letter, employees all said, we'll pass it on.
Yeah.
We're grateful. We hope that they get it mowed.
Yeah.
We've been complaining ourselves, but we can't get a response.
Yeah. I've gone so far, I was almost going to pick up the phone and call Tennessee, and that's when I talked to Mr. Sheridan. I said, no, that's his job.
Right.
So, I mean, you got to get tough with those people. If you don't get tough with them, they won't do anything. And I would hire somebody that knows what they're doing and does a professional job to clean it up and have them do it every 2 weeks or whatever it takes to keep the place looking nice. That's all I've got. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Mr. Batters.
Jim, did you have anything? or-
Nothing, I'm good.
All right, well, it's good to see you tonight. All right, seeing.
We have a couple more things. The CDBG grants. The commissioners did something. Can you share what that was?
They recommended ours to go to the state to compete. So we've got more paperwork to fill out, but we're going to be one of two, I believe, coming from Miami County with the commissioner's support.
Okay, was there any funding that they were gonna do? Like, there was an email about if we didn't get it, they were willing to give us funding for something?
Yeah, there was some funding that if we weren't successful, they might be able to kick in. It was a smaller portion, but it was certainly something.
What was that for?
I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and find the emails it's before we left on the trip. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
And is that community development block grant, is that one of the things that's coming under fire federally now?
Yes.
The trickle-down monies from that?
Yes.
And is that likely to affect the current money in the pipeline?
I don't know, it might, I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think the state already has the money and they're distributing it, so it might be next year's.
Okay.
But I don't hold me to that, Counselor, that's just
I know it's outside our control.
it's very much outside, and this is a different world as far as that kind of funding. Because I've dealt with CDBG money for my entire career, and it's never been an issue before.
I had a couple things, sorry. The sidewalk, program, the village.
It's on my list, I gotta get it done.
Okay. And then Ben had brought to our attention, I think Lene looked, the paving of that Hamilton Street parking lot. Did we ever come up with like
I
a
think he did, I
plan?
think he had some numbers.
And did council say like, yeah, assess
I
the
don't-
owners, or was that?
I think that's where it stands, he wants to bring it back to you before we start assessing it. Yeah, Ben had the numbers, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was
you
like
did.
30, it was
Yeah.
like $30,000.
Ben had the numbers, I'm not sure what,
Yeah.
I think that's the next step, but I could be wrong.
Do we need to say yay or nay? Or?
Well, we need to ultimately, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we updated the
I
ordinance
think you
language.
updated
did.
it, but
I believe so,
now's a
yeah.
We
matter of,
updated that just recently, back in
Yes.
March.
Yeah,
So
provide
now-
a notice to them.
So now the notice would need to go out.
Correct.
But we've updated the ordinance language, and he would just have to move forward with that
and your
process.
intent to enforce it.
Yes,
Right.
yes. Right. Yeah, because it's not good.
So they'll get notices, is that what you're saying?
Yes, if that's the council, you want that. I think the legislation's in place, it's just a matter of making the notice that that's what you want.
Correct.
Do we want that?
I
Yes.
think it's already been passed, hasn't
It's
it?
already been passed.
I mean, can we act on that one?
No, it's just code enforcement.
Thanks.
Do you want me to write that down?
No.
All right, anything else? Nope. Sarah, Scott?
Nope, good, good.
All right.
Jeremy?
Totally good.
There was that thing, May 31st, remember?
That's a new business, sorry, May 31st. This is a fun one. We're having a family fun day in the park. If you've seen signs around town, we're really excited. I just gave the movie The Sandlot to Tom Beck tonight. We have a big blow-up movie screen. There's going to be the Bean Hive coffee. There's going to be tacos and burgers and popcorn and Kona Ice, and it's not the Bean Hive. I am sorry, Sandy. It is Tom's Coffee. I think, also sorry, Alan, if I said it wrong. It starts at like 5. It's going to be super fun. We've got bounce houses. The Nazarene Church is putting up a bunch of games for us. It's just going to be a really good family time. And then also something that this is a new thing, but Project Revival is not doing Third Thursday anymore, but Sandy Snow with the Bean Hive, who's awesome, actually got some food trucks together. And so on the third Thursday, and I'll have dates, I could look at a calendar, but she's actually going to be doing like a Third Thursday food truck rally at the Abbey Credit Union for June, July, and August.
Oh, wow.
She changed the name.
This just all happened. The Bean Hive? No?
Okay, still, because I saw a different truck down there.
Oh, that was a different coffee truck that was there on a different, was it?
Yesterday.
Yeah. It was actually on the holiday.
All right.
And I saw him packing up.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Okay. I took that personally for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was a great reference.
Killing me, Smosh,
He's
killing me.
waiting.
From the Sandlot.
Absolutely.
All right, anything else?
No.
Are there, I'm sorry, what? Any motions for adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Ayes have it, so ordered. Thanks a lot.